Indie Credible Podcast. The Indie Credible Podcast. Make sure you put that "the" in there because we are the Indie Credible Podcast. I'm Xander and joined with Jeff. And how's it going, everyone? How's it going, Jeff?
I am spinning and scrambling because 2025 is the year of the scramble. Xander.
It is.
It's been a wild time. Yes. It's a fun year, and especially since, we record things early, so it's a really fun year.
Indeed. Indeed.
But yeah, we have some interesting stuff, and there was something that we had talked about a couple episodes ago that I wanted to follow up with you because I wrote down in our notes, I'm like, Xander idea that he talked about, and then I completely forgot to ask you about it last episode.
Yeah. Well, I was wanting to talk about big IPs, like IPs that we know and love that indie developers get to have a chance to work with. A great example would be something as classic as Sonic Mania. And Sonic Mania started out as, a small team that did a Sonic CD mod on mobile devices a long time ago.
Headcanon.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did like the awesome port on the iPhones or mobile phones of like Sonic games, and they got a chance to do the spiritual successor to Sonic 3, Sonic CD, and they did it amazing.
Yeah, it's still like one of my favorite Sonic games too. I mean, there's been more Sonic games since Sonic Mania, but Sonic Mania is still like it's really, really good. So it's interesting to see a lot of these, indie developers who grew up playing these games and have a chance to work on it. I mean, I remember, going on social media and you'd go on Twitter or whatever. And yeah, I follow some indie developers and he'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe that, I'm doing the music for, Castlevania. A great example would be that with the Dominus collection when they had the Castlevania Haunted Castle Rebirth that came out. It was essentially a new game, but I started following the composer for that, and she was like, she couldn't believe it. She's like, I'm doing music for Castlevania right now. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been game developers that I worked with Premium Edition games that like they made like Wonderling DX, which is an awesome indie game where you like play as the Goomba and you got to get through all the platforming. But they later were purchased by Embracer, and then now they've made Mr. Gimmick the remake and Gimmick 2. And so like they're working with the Gimmick IP, which is wild. Like
that is crazy.
I mean, there's a few bucket lists we have. I mean, I was able to work with a game that had Toe Jam and Earl in it, and Kunio Kun, like River City Ransom, and like Ukulele. So like, I like to me that stuff is like awesome that you get to work with some stuff like that. It's just dreams come true. And some other games that are cool though, like think about like Streets of Rage 4 and like how that's done by like almost like a fan community type deal, but then it's just so polished and like sets the bar real high.
Yeah, and it made me think of as well as when you were talking about River City Rampage, when you were talking about that, you remember
River City Rampage, the Xander Scramble is back.
Wait a minute. It's River City Ransom, not Rampage.
Rampage.
No, I think what was the Kickstarter for River City? Wasn't it River City Rampage? Did they call it that? It was like that Kickstarter that came out years ago. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The only thing I can remember is my friend Darian, who owns Warp Zone Video Games, was in the video game. Like he's a game store owner in the video game.
It wasn't River City Girls, was it?
No. It was before River City Girls. This River City game came out shortly around the same time that people were like going gaga with Mighty Number 9. That's how long ago it was. It was a long time.
It might have been Showdown came out. River City Showdown. There's also there was a bunch of the spiritual successors that came out. Unless you're thinking of Retro City Rampage. That makes it scared.
That's a good game though. That's a good game.
Yeah. No, I don't actually off the top of my head. I can't think of what that project was, but still, that's cool that he has a game store in it.
Yeah. And if you guys want to check out his store, it's still open, still running. Great guy. Warp Zone Video Games over in Ohio. I remember him and we had this for a longest time. We had like a little holiday. It was like April, I want to say April 23rd or something like that. It was like a random day that I proclaimed as Sega Genesis Chocolate Cake Day. And like on Facebook, I'm like, yeah, today's Sega Genesis Chocolate Cake Day. And he ended up having that whole event at his store. Like had folks playing Sega Genesis and eating chocolate cake.
I want to say that he used to carry a lot of my books when I first started out too. Like he's
Yeah.
a really good dude.
Oh yeah.
You know what's interesting though? And now we fast forward. So the River City girls, right?
Mhm.
They're like boyfriends, right? Are in there, and then I think that is there a connection in that to the Double Dragon
Mm.
characters?
Yeah, it's all
And
in the same world. Yeah.
and now there's the new Double Dragon game that doesn't look that great.
Yeah, man, that game, yeah, I saw it. I saw the preview at the Video Game Awards show, and I remember I sent you like the link to it. I was just like, man, it looked very uninspired, which is, it's funny. It's like I wonder like if we saw that trailer before, River City Girls and before that, Kunio-kun kind of revamped and games like Double Dragon, what was it? The last one, Double Dragon Gaiden? Was that the one that just came out a couple of years ago? That newer one? Was it Gaiden or because it wasn't Neon?
Because there's Double Dragon Neon, then you had Double Dragon 4, which I loved. A lot of people didn't, but it's basically a successor to Double Dragon 2 on NES, which one of my favorite games. So I liked it. Um, yeah, I think that the newest one you're talking about is the one that was done by the guys who did Streets of Red. That was more of like a is more of a it wasn't it's like a beat 'em up, but it's more progression based, and you get to play as Marion too with a gun, and I remember that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking of is Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And that came out a couple years ago. But here's my question though. Like, do you think we would have liked this newer Double Dragon if we didn't experience all this other awesome Double Dragon stuff beforehand? Because it was like I saw it and I'm like, man, if this would have came out back on like the PS2, like I would have been all about it. But now seeing
Yeah.
it's like it seemed very uninspired, very generic, you know?
Honestly, I don't think so, just because like my first thought was I'm like, why do they keep talking when they're attacking and fighting? Like they're like literally doing that, which it was like when they did the Link to the Past, when they re-released it on the Game Boy Advance, and Link's like, hi, 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 hi. So it's,
Yeah.
oh, listen to that on the whole time I'm playing the game. It's the same deal as like they added some little things that just doesn't click with me. It's unfortunate. But yeah, the thing was though, is the one game at the Video Game Awards, not super indie, but still like it's the Ninja Gaiden like 2D game that's coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
That
Like
game's so cool.
yeah, that game looked nice. That was
Like
that
I'm
was cool
like,
too. I mean, you gotta think about it, man. We got a new Ninja Gaiden and a soon to be new Shinobi coming out. Like, could 2025 be Rise of the Ninjas?
Eyes of the Scramble. Rise of the Ninjas though, yeah, that's cool. I hope so.
Yeah, ninjas
That'd
are
be
cool.
badass. That'd be badass. I always love my ninja games. They're so fun. It's fun being overpowered, like badass. You can move all around and attack and do all this stuff. So cool.
Well, if they
Cool.
was talking about badass, I was looking at the show notes and there was this game that you were talking about in here. It was like Superman or Monster. Think Rampage, but in 3D. I'm
Yeah,
like,
so it's
oh,
super man or monster.
yes.
So yeah, so it's wild. So this game I have had on my Steam Deck, I want to say for at least 2 or 3 years. The game was released in 2017. So it's now what, 7 years old, 8 years old almost, which is
I'll
crazy.
leave.
This is crazy, but it is like voxel style graphics. So you got the 3D but pixelated. So it's like that 3D Dot Game Heroes is like voxel style graphics. You get to play as either man or monster. And if you play as a monster, you literally get to be a kaiju, Godzilla, and you're going through 3D like a town, and you get to destroy everything in there, like the the Hatebreed song, destroy everything. Like my daughter and I listen to Hatebreed all the time, by the way. But it's so cool because you go through and it's level based like Rampage. So you go through a little town and you destroy everything. And if you lose all your health, you restart the level. Or if you get through it, then your time hits and all your damage and all the stuff and your points score up. And so you go level by level to level up. And you can then unlock things so you can customize your dinosaur, your monster. And there's different monsters you get to choose from too. Then there's the man side, which is crazy because the guy is like a little guy and he has a jetpack so he can fly.
That's cool.
And you have a time limit until the monster is going to attack. So you have to go against the monster, and you have a limited amount of tanks and turrets and stuff you can set up around the town. So when he comes out there, they'll start attacking. You can jump in a tank and attack too. And then when the monster comes out, you can kind of like strategically set yourself up and attack at the monster. As soon as you kill the monster, you win the level.
Oh, nice. Is it just single player, like, or is it maybe like a two player versus? That'd be kind of cool.
I am not sure if it has multiplayer. It might. I obviously was only playing it single player. But I don't recall. So we'd have to research that live. If it does have co-op. But that would be fun as shit if it did, especially if you could play online. Like if you and I could just play online and or cooperatively together, like two kaijus destroying towns. Like
Yeah,
they run in
that
there.
would be awesome.
Like back in the day playing through Rampage in the arcade. That was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, the game is awesome. I had a fun time with that. I played a couple levels. And I was busy at work this week, so I was like, I need to play some indie games. So I had to like make sure I dedicated some time to playing a couple games. And that one right there was like, all right, this is in my play or delete pile. Because the games that have been on my Steam Deck forever, I actually categorize them in different folders. This one's like play or delete because I haven't played it in years. And I played it, I'm like, oh, this goes into the backlog now because I need to play more of this game. It's freaking awesome.
I love how there's tiers for your gaming. Like I really like that. I love that.
Always. I gotta somehow sort it. The thing that sucks though is that I use Decky Loader on my Steam Deck, and it does some awesome customization stuff. There's this thing called Deck Roulette, and it allows me to hit a button, and randomly I get to play a game. And the developer of it stopped supporting it, so it doesn't work anymore. And so now I gotta like scroll through or go through a different way and choose something. And paralysis of choice is a real thing, people. Too many games. And like, I mean, I got like 40, 50 games during Black Friday. Like, I would love to be able to hit randomize and pop up one, and that's what I'm gonna play because I have hundreds. I have like 800 Steam games or something or more. It's insane.
Yeah, you'd think like Steam, like the Steam iOS would have a randomization. You would think that would be there.
You would think so. But yeah, so I'm hoping that somebody else picks up Deck Roulette so that way I can at least just hit the button and randomize. It's such a simple thing.
I do that musician all the time. Like when I'm getting emulators, like I'll pull up MAME and hit random because I have like thousands of arcade games. And
it's like 20,000 main games or something. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll sit there and scroll all like freaking night. It's like, oh, it's time for me to go to bed now.
Yeah. But sometimes it's fun to browse. My wife enjoys doing that on Netflix and all that. Netflix has a randomize button too. So, like, I would love for Steam to just natively implement that because I remember one of the decky things was you could do vibrant deck and you can make the screen more vibrant, which made it look like an OLED. This is before they released the OLED. But then, like, Steam put that into the iOS so you could just do it. So I hope they do that with the roulette because the roulette is such a cool thing. And I just had enjoyment out of it because I could literally do it in folders too. So all right, I'm in my player delete, random, play. This other game I played though was not random, and this was actually off of a classic. So this is a Game Boy homebrew.
Yeah.
And they ported it to Steam. So I played the Steam version. It's called Kudzu or Kudzu, I'll call it. And it plays and reminds me a lot of Link's Awakening on the original Game Boy. This is an original Game Boy game. The porting was done by Mega Cat Studios. They ported it over to Steam, which is awesome. and it has like little borders of the Game Boy on it, which is cool. Mega Cat has done a lot of awesome homebrews for NES, Genesis, Super Nintendo, really cool stuff. And now they're supporting indie developers. I think it's like with this 8-bit legit thing too, with them and Retrotainment, who have done Haunted Halloween games. They like had this little cohort together. But they released Kudzu, and I supported on Kickstarter, and I have the physical for the Game Boy. I think it's like right over here, so I keep looking over, but it's over here. But I have the digital version on my Steam Deck, and I saw it, and I'm like, oh, I need to play this. And so I played it for a couple hours. It was awesome. And like there's a lot of story. It reminds me of like when you're doing the little mission fetch quests and Link's Awakening, where it's like, oh, you got to get this thing and then go over here and find this person, and then you finally get into the first temple, and now I have the knife, the sword, and now I can start to eat things, and it turns into a Zelda, which is awesome. And you could already tell, like, all right, there's these certain things that I got to do to be able to like progress further. Like this, I can't attack right now. And the thing is, though, is that I played until I died for the first time. So I played for a couple hours, but I think you really only have 2 hearts to start or something. Like
Wow.
it's not, but it's by percentage. It's like almost role-playing game percentage, and that's not on the screen. I have to like pause it to see my percentage. So I like you get hit like once, and I think your like health goes down, but you have like a little refill thing too that you can get from the Kudzu. Kudzu is it's like growth vegetation or something.
Now, does it have the annoying like beep beep sound when your health starts going low? That's the only thing I hate about Zelda. Like when you start, it's like beep beep, no, like constantly. Hate that.
No, I don't think there was any beeping that I recall. But I did. But going through though, I did beat the first boss of the game in the first dungeon. I was going through the next part, and I think I just got like because like the hit detection is interesting. And I think a character like one of the enemies went over me and just like hit me a few times and killed me because they just got stuck on me. And so that's where I died. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pause it. And then I moved on to Super Kaiju Manor Monster. I moved over to that here. But yeah, Kudzu's awesome. Like I would highly recommend it. If the physicals are still available, like you can literally play it in a Game Boy. You could play it in your, game analog pocket. You could play it in the original Game Boy, or you could play it in something else that I saw. It's called the Chromatic.
I was just about to mention that. I remember we were talking about that in the last episode. A GameStop was pretty much well, you know what's funny is you told me about this, and then I was on TikTok the other day, and like I guess it was like a store kind of like Five Below or something like that had some sort of Game Boy emulator thing, and they were laughing at the box because the box had Mario on it, but they photoshopped his mustache. They photoshopped his mustache out, and they're like, I don't think this is going to save you from Nintendo, bro. But yeah, these things are starting to pop up now. It's almost like we're seeing a little boom with some third party retro consoles. It's interesting.
The mini handheld market right now is crazy. Like I see like it was Aberneck and Retro something and all these yes, Retroid, and they're setting out all these like the Retroid 5 or whatever it's called looks awesome. But like I see all these and I'm like, that's cool. But every year they get better and better. And so I find myself, and this is a recommendation from an indie perspective, I find myself going toward Steam Deck because it's supported within Valve, which that's where the 14,000 indie games a year are at, is on Steam. So the Steam Deck is inherently where it's at. It doesn't play all the AAA games at your 60 frames per second or higher in 4K and all that stuff because it's, the Steam Deck is, a standard. But it plays every indie game I've ever thrown at it. And it's been awesome about that. And then I also have my Lenovo Legion Go, which is essentially my gaming PC, but it's a handheld that has Nintendo Switch connected things, whatever, connections, Xander Scramble. But that is awesome too. And I got that as a gift like last year, and it was in 2024 here. And it's a cool thing, and that does play the AAA stuff. Like I was able to play like Cyberpunk on it and Horizon and all the things can play on that. And it also then plays all the damn retro stuff. So using it with, a classic like back end on Windows, like I can put all the retro games on it, and it plays everything, anything you throw at it. So like for me, my actual Steam Deck is my indie machine, and then I use the bigger games on my actual Lenovo Legion Go. But I also play indie on that too, and so it's a wild thing. But like all those other retro handhelds are cool as hell. But that's for essentially for me, that's for like ROMs. And I don't really need to have another thing to play ROMs in this day and age. Like I got and I have an analog pocket that I've had since it was first released like years ago. The analog pocket is FPGA, so it's perfect emulation because they're like tweaking the emulation to make sure it's like flawless. And so I have that I can literally for all the retro shit too. And hell, they're updating that thing up to this day. I hadn't updated in a while, and I updated this last week. They added MSX. That's why I mentioned it earlier. They added MSX computer. MSX2 is what Metal Gear was on.
Mm-hmm.
Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 were on MSX2. But MSX1 is like NES style, cool, like a little bit between like learning like Commodore NES. Yeah, is what it is. And it's cool as hell. There's a bunch more games to play. And there's just so many cool experiences. And again, scope creep. We have all the things we could ever want.
Yeah.
Like I could literally never buy a game again and never find a new game again, and I would be good. And I still love all the new stuff. Like,
yeah, it's interesting, because I was at work the other day and I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he's like 21. He's younger, and it was funny.
The youngin.
Yeah, he was a youngin. And we're talking about video games, and he's talking about like the current state of video games. Now, keep in mind, he's coming from someone who he's not crazy about video games like I am. He just likes to play video games. And he was just talking about how he's really excited about getting the N64. He was getting N64 for Christmas. And he was like, yeah, man, I just find myself kind of regressing a little bit and enjoying the older games. And I'm like, excuse you? It's like, that's not the old.
Did you look at him and go, nerd?
Yeah. But I told him, because he was like talking about how he was talking about how a lot of games today just don't have the same spirit. And I'm like, dude, you gotta jump into indie. I was telling him like, it's like, you gotta jump into indie, because then I blew his mind when I was telling him about this other game, and I forgot to put in the show notes, but you gotta check it out. And you may have already played it, called Pizza Titan Ultra.
Oh, fun.
Pizza Titan Ultra is such an amazing game. I'm like, have you heard about this? He's like, no. And I told him about it. I was telling him.
There's only probably one other person in the world that's heard of it, and it's me.
It's such a good game.
It reminds me of a 90s cartoon or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the Pizza Titan Ultra is like, it's like Crazy Taxi with a giant mech, isn't it? Like,
yeah. And you're like battling a big rat like Chuck E. Cheese, It's like, blew his mind. He's like, I had no idea. And I was talking about Dungeon Crawler, which was in our last episode. It's like, it's a turn-based RPG, but it's a claw machine too. Like, it's crazy.
There's only one reason why I know Pizza Titan Ultra, and that's because when I was making my first or the second Switch collector book, it is a game that was digital only on Nintendo Switch. And I did a highlight of all the coolest indie games on Switch that hadn't gotten a physical release, because the book has all the physicals. And in the back, I'm like, here's all the ones that we would like to see physically. And Pizza Titan Ultra was one of those. And I'm like, oh, what the heck is this? I mean, and the funny thing is like when I was creating book year 2 is when I found A Robot Named Fight didn't have a physical, and I was starting premium edition games. I'm like, hey, would you like that?
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's so cool. Yeah,
and then that progressed to later to move into Steam, and now you see where I'm at with thousands of games.
Yeah, because Pizza Titan Ultra, like that was a game I got a review copy for a long time ago. I thought just the name Pizza Titan Ultra, I was like, who made this game? I like went through like Twitter. I'm trying to find I found the developer and I emailed that. I'm like, I really want to play this game. So they sent me a review copy on the PS4, and I did a review of it on my channel. But yeah, like any indie game that has like an eye-catching title like that, I'm automatically like intrigued. And I love pizza. I love giant robots. Let's go.
Well, and the thing is so you have the games that like nobody's heard of and have a catchy title, right?
Mhm.
And so like I bet most of the viewers and listeners haven't heard of Piece of Titan Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
And it just shows that there's so many games out there. But what about the games that have a terrible title? And like or something that's very simple or something that's very losable. Like there's so many games out there that just get lost in the sauce because like it just has such a similar name to something else that's popular or they hit something else like not even the ones that are in this episode, but it's like I have recently been covering some amazing titles and I'm like these games look like something that already has a physical, but it's a not, and it's another amazing title that's indie that somebody's released and nobody's heard of it.
That's like, and I looked on Steam right now. It's currently like $3. It's a cheap game anyway, but it brings up a good point. There's a run and gun game called BioLab Wars. You
Yeah,
know,
BioLab Wars.
great game, but it's almost like Contra and uh what was that other game on the NES? I'm drawing a complete blank.
I'm letting them go.
Journey of Silius.
Journey to Silius.
That's That's what I'm thinking of. That's what it plays a lot like. But Biolab Wars, this sounds so like generic, like you hear that and you're just like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that. They're like, please do. I freaking love the team that was behind this game. It was so much fun.
That
You
game
get
was
to
always on sale on Switch and on like that game is cool. There's other ones that's like I mean heck, one of the games that are on the horizon is it's called Symphonia. Literally there's Tales of Symphonia. There's
Yeah.
all these other ones. It's just called Symphonia. And the game itself looks like an amazing pixel platformer. Like the game just looks awesome. And it's like wild that, it's like the game just looks such like a gorgeous platformer game, musical based, graphics look amazing, everything looks awesome in it. But the name is called Symphonia. So
Yeah.
basic. And I'm hoping that games like these take off, but on the other side, it's so similar to other games.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I saw the title of it and I was like, I wasn't sure what to expect when I pulled up the trailer because, Symphonia, I was thinking it was gonna be like an action RPG or something, But yeah, this is more of a platformer. Almost like I wonder if it's like a Metroidvania. That's what I'm kind of wondering because it seems like you unlock different instruments and stuff like that. It looked cool.
Well, I mean, it's called a precision platformer adventure game, instrumental music collectathon. So they might just be platformer, but it might have Metroidvania. They also might be trying to avoid to say the word Metroidvania because the developer doesn't like the word. Because there's a lot of people that are hipster about the word Metroidvania. I love it. I mean, I'm literally doing books based on Metroidvania.
Yeah.
But there are people that are like, well, we're gonna call it a search action game or a procedurally search and destroy or like these great names, and I'm like, dude, it's gonna be called a Metroidvania. It's like the people that didn't like NES Homebrew, so they try to call it aftermarket. So I've used both aftermarket and homebrew. Like it's this.
I like homebrew so much more. Aftermarket sounds cheap. It sounds like something you'd buy at Ollie's or something.
Yeah, after the market, you go buy it. And I don't even know what an Ollie's is because I'm not from the East Coast. But yeah,
Oh, Ollie's is awesome. That place, I
there's
think
some
Ollie's.
sells bootleg games apparently.
Yeah. Well, like Ollie's is like one of those kind of places, kind of like Big Lots or something like that. They sell a lot of stuff that's, a place might get too much of a product, so they send it to like Ollie's or Gabe's or somewhere like that. So I
I
go,
don't know games either. But you could have said
yeah,
Big Lots and people would have understood you, Xander Scramble. The year of Xander Scramble.
because what's cool about these places, you can go in there and they have like a lot of action figures, like dirt cheap. And I'm talking like Star Wars, Marvel, like a movie that came out like 3 years ago. Like they had the toys over at Ollie's.
All the shit that didn't sell. Everything that didn't sell in those stores, sell it to an Ollie's. Okay. That's cool. That's cool. It's wild. Yeah, so yeah, it's where like, but people just don't like the name like homebrew or I think it's cool as hell. Like it's homebrew. It's awesome.
I think I think it might just also at the end of the day, I think it might just turn some people off because I think some people just like the term like roguelikes, Metroidvanias. I know there's some people that they hear it and they're like, "Pff, another one, because there
Yeah.
are a lot of like Metroidvania roguelikes and being
How about Survivor likes? That's the new one now. We use third person. That's Survivor likes.
yeah. Yeah, because it's one of those things, like you said, there's like so many games that come out a year. They have to do something that stand out. And there's like you have that fine line of familiarity and, newness.
Yeah.
They have a tug of war with to get, the gamers' attention because if you don't grab them that first, couple of minutes, they're gonna off you're gonna be put in the meaty pile on the backlog and you're gonna go somewhere else,
Well, and you also think about like talking about like the YouTube algorithm and getting things seen. You have to get into the Steam algorithm, the Nintendo Switch algorithm, the PlayStation algorithm to make sure you're seen. So if you put something that people search for, like a Metroidvania or a Survivor like, they'll at least search for your game and find it instead of trying to get hipster about it and then they can't find the game. So there's already 14,000 games a year. Why make it harder for people to find your game? Make it
It's
easy.
another reason to listen to this podcast.
Exactly. And I gave you the perfect segue, and Xander Scrabble missed it because the next game in the list is called Entropy Survivors, and it's a survivor like.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it was like a top-down, very, very
And a
polished.
roguelike, action roguelike, bullet hell. Like it looks so bright and crazy. This one though, because my thing is that I have and love Vampire Survivors. So if there's a game, it has to do it something. It has to do it differently. It has to do something else. And this game just looks insane. It has 2 to 4 player cooperative. It has tons and tons of unlockables, like tons, like big lists of craziness just to customize your characters, and everything just looks crazy intense. It does look like there's a little level by level layout too, which is more interesting. So hopefully there's like a little bit of a progression system in there because I haven't gotten to that.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really cool when I saw it. I went, "Ooh, this is really interesting." Because it looked like you said, it looks so polished, so bright and colorful.
You can like literally customize every aspect of the weapons, the characters, all the stuff. It just looks like a really fun game. And there's chaos. I mean, it's Survivor like. There's tons and tons of characters everywhere. So, I mean, now that is something where if we could play online, which this one does have online co-op, I would play on your stream with you. Yeah, play through because I'll just be careless. Especially as keep dying. You're supposed to keep dying. So how far can we get? Like, like that's the stuff where that is okay. Because I am not one that really cares about losing and dying all the time. But if it's a roguelike, that's part of the process is you continually get better and better and better. There's literally like people streaming it right now as we're talking. So it's
Yeah, a
all
matter of,
there.
I think a matter of fact, I think that might have been one of the streams that had the developers actually playing it. Like the developers were streaming the game, which is really cool.
Yep. Yep. As a
Speak,
man.
Speaking of really cool, this other game that you put up was right up my alley. I feel like this game. I feel like you found this game being like, yeah, Xander would like to talk about this because I mentioned before. Yeah,
Your Ollie.
yeah, yeah. That's a good one. That was a good one. Because I was talking about the in the previous episode, I'm like, just put a skateboard and I will like it. Like if an animal's riding a skateboard, I'm all about it. And yeah, ollie oop.
Literally a skateboarding dog in 3D. 3D skateboarding dog. You can put little hats on him. So it's so cute, so beautiful. Like
Yeah,
it's like looks like crazy open world Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but it has like a little cute beagle looking doggy, little pup.
yeah. And it's less than $10.
Yeah, and all these games were just released within the last month too. Like
Yeah.
yeah, these are all brand new releases. It's like where I try to add on the horizon, like I try to add new stuff that's just come out, and I just try to toss them on there. And sometimes I put one or two. This time I'm like, let me put a bunch in there for us to talk about, just in case I don't get to play too much this week. Throw them in there and just be able to talk about. But this game looks so cool. Like it's just a fun looking, crazy game. I mean, you got a doggy with a little top hat.
Oh
Top
yeah.
hat pup. Top hat pup. Ooh, kitty. But yeah, that's definitely up your alley. Is like just toss an animal in the game, and Xander's gonna love it.
Yeah, the one game that I'm really looking forward to in 2025 is Pawn Summer. That game I talked about a couple episodes ago with the raccoon, and he's trying to raise money for a shrine. So it's like he's riding his BMX bike and delivering, and then all of a sudden he's playing baseball and hanging out with people, and I'm like, that's good stuff. Good stuff.
And fun, cozy games or what?
Yeah.
So because like to me, I'll play like a Metroidvania or something else, and then you got this palate cleanser that comes in, and then go back to those, and I like to go back and forth between those. I mean, heck, I still play Picross all the time, and I think it's the first time in 7 years I actually beat the Konami Picross game. I beat 100% of all the puzzles in Konami
Oh,
Picross.
nice.
And I've been playing it like traveling to conventions on airplane and all. And I've been out here when I'm on a break or something. I just play a couple Picross, and I finally finished the game. Like wild. The Konami. There's hundreds and hundreds of puzzles in that. It was a little iPhone game with Konami characters. And you're like doing Castlevania pixels and stuff. It's fun.
That's so cool.
Fun. Yeah, but I like the cozy, pausing, the little palate cleansers as you will.
Yeah, I do that a lot when I'm playing games, especially like right now I'm in the search for a cozy game because I'm also playing Black Myth Wukong right now. So there's like a moment where the game gets me too mad, but I still want a game. I want to play something new. So yeah, that's why I'm probably jumping on.
I think this one will be my next game. Pepper Grind.
Oh yeah.
Need to play some Pepper Grinder, a Devolver Digital style game. Found the physical at the GameStop, which I didn't even know was coming out on physical, but absolutely a game that as soon as it was announced, I think it was on like a Nintendo Direct, I wanted to play it. Indie style. Awesome, awesome game. All I could see is the logo. It looks like AHRECH is what the name of the developer is. But that game I think might be my next game I want to play, and I don't think it's going to be super intense. It looks cute and fun.
Yeah.
Vibes of Mr. Driller.
Yeah, we talked about that in a previous episode. We talked about this game, am I correct? Oh yeah.
I want to say now I finally have a copy, and it's like time to play. Especially, like during these winter months, it's a fun time.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's something I would like for us to explore on the show as well. It's like, having like, the Over Horizon update, because we talk about these games and it's like games we kind of watch the trailer and we're kind of just talking normal. Like if we weren't doing a podcast right now, this is how we'd be talking anyway, talking about these indie games. And, I would love to have like an update where we go back and we're like, yeah, you remember that game? Yeah, I checked it out. This is what I thought about it. Like,
Sure played any of the ones in the On the Horizon Xander section.
well, maybe that could be
Called it Over Horizon, so it's beyond the horizon.
Yeah. Maybe that's what we could call it, the update. The update's over the horizon, or maybe that.
The horizon.
Yeah, I feel. No, no.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that about covers it. We had one more game in the On the Horizon, if we want to tell the peoples. It's a weird genre that I'm usually not into, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, that was the. Well, let me see. Is the
Wild Woods. Yeah, so like this one, like I'm never a big fan when you have like it's almost like an escort mission. You got to protect things, but the game just looks fun, and you get to play as a sword wielding cat. So I was like, all right, so Xander Scramble's gonna like the animals with weapons.
Yeah, you know what kind of made me think of? It kind of made me think of Final Fantasy, the Crystal Chronicles.
Oh yeah, like Crystal. That's what I was thinking. Is like it doesn't seem
It
like
has that.
you're
It has that ring. It has that ring that you gotta have to kind of get it, and yeah, that's what it kind of gave me a vibe of that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, so that one's just one that I think is interesting to check out. Like, I don't know if it's going to be up my alley or not, but like, I feel like it looks like a cool one to at least have to play. And like, who knows? Who's to say? Maybe Wild Woods is, the next game of his genre. You never know, man. It could be the next Balatro where it just crushed 2024.
And the name, like we were talking about earlier, like sometimes the names they don't grab you, like Wild Woods. Like,
Wild Woods.
you know,
Is
like
it,
is that
what is it? The sequel to Wario's Woods?
that's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking that was like going to be a puzzler or something. I thought this was going to be the next puzzle cozy game, but I watched the trailer and I'm like, oh, this is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles with a black cat and a katana. Hell yeah.
But I mean, to the defense of all the game developers, with 14,000 games a year, it's hard to keep a unique name. It is tough. So, I mean, I don't blame them, but I'm still going to be confused as shit when, it comes out and be like, oh, this has a very similar name, because I thought this was a different game. Like, as I'm doing more and more episodes of Indie Gaming Gems, I keep finding games and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, I thought this was released physically on PlayStation 3 or something. And I'm like, oh no, it just has a similar name, but it's not the same game, not even the same series, not the same developer. But it's an amazing, gorgeous game. Like, there's so many of those that I've been checking out over the last year. It's been a while.
Indeed. So much.
That'll wrap up this episode of Indie Credible.
I think it does. And what a show it's been. Oh,
dude,
wow.
So if you have any games that you want us to play, let us know. We're going to continue hunting the good stuff, finding good stuff to share with y'all and talk about our experiences with the community.
Indeed. As always, guys, support indie and happy gaming. Well, that's cool.
I just was to do that. That was wild. Thank you, everyone, for checking out this episode of Indie Credible. There we go. Make sure you follow us. We have lots of stuff going on every week on YouTube on Fridays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you check out Indie Gaming Gems. That is the structured review/preview series about 10 indie games you may not have heard of.
And you can check me out, Xander Skullion, across the board. I kept it real simple for you guys. You can check me out on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And, on my channel, I'll cover a little series called Play and Tell, where I talk about games I've been playing, leave little short impressions, mini reviews, and most importantly, when you walk away, you have something new to play. So you can check out my Play and Tell series. I also have some reviews that I put out every once in a while, and a live stream, which I'm really trying to commit and have a dedicated schedule. So that's more important that you hit the bell so you're notified whenever I'm live, because you never know. I might be live right now.
Yes, he's always live. Oh, always. And then, of course, I have all of my books at HagensAlley.com. You can check out. I've had like dozens of books published. I try to upload and keep things up to date with the latest reviews, the latest books up there, but they have to be in hand. So if you follow me on social medias, you'll see when the newest Kickstarter goes live, the backer kit goes live, the newest crowdfunding thing is going live. And as soon as you become a backer, there's updates that go out all the time. So we're always working on new books and new series and new things. Of course, upcoming, coordinated with this podcast, will be Indie Gaming Gems, which will be coming out next year sometime. It'll be fun time here for us in the indie gaming world.